is for you to do your job and make people feel safe, especially those that are depending on you to do it. When you see cases of, 48% increase in sexual assault cases, my goodness.
So
that's it. I've heard enough. Chairman, I yield my time.
Sexual abuse. I am so excited that my colleagues across the aisle care about sexual abuse, considering that the front runner right now for presidency is kind of just been found liable of sexual abuse. So I'm excited because this may mean that finally some folk will back off from supporting him because we don't support sexual abusers in this chamber. So I'm happy about this. That I've done criminal defense for almost 2 decades, and also I've been a civil rights lawyer.
Let's talk about what you saw while you were there. We heard a little bit of what Marjorie Taylor Greene suggests that she saw. What did you see?
I saw a delegation of elected congressional members that were starstruck when they got an opportunity to finally see the January 6 inmates. I saw privileged people is what I saw. The criminal justice system that I'm used to seeing does not afford them tablets that allow them to end up with a #1 song on iTunes because they're able to record or they're able to text their family members whenever they want to. I've never had a client that had the ability to access a laptop for weeks so that they could review in the privacy of their single cell jail their discovery. The privilege that I saw was actually quite astounding, even though we were supposed to talk about or review how bad the conditions were. If anything, I have never seen a jail that afforded so many privileges to anyone. And as I said, I've been licensed in Texas, Arkansas, and in federal courts for almost 2 decades.
So this is important because you have been a criminal defense attorney. You have seen inhumane conditions, and that's a real thing, right? Bad conditions in prison in America is a real thing. And to the extent that there are members of Congress from both parties who'd like to tackle that, it's a separate issue than treating January 6 rioters as political prisoners.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, we know what this was. This was nothing more than a political stunt. And while you're covering this, that is part of the problem. The media continually gives Marjorie Taylor Greene this microphone to spew nonsense and lies. Essentially, what happened today was a field trip. The Republicans got to see their heroes. The January 6ers got to see their heroes. Everybody was kumbayaing. I was the one that looked a little out of place for sure. Definitely no one was coming up to me, so excited to talk to me. There was one gentleman that wanted to talk to me. But, what's frustrating is the idea that I think back to Nelson Mandela and what he went through. We've got to talk about these root causes. Number one, the fact that we have elected legislators that won't do their job and protect people by keeping these weapons off the streets. That's number one. Number two, we are still reeling from a financial crisis. And guess what? They don't want to make it better. I'm sure they all campaigned and said, oh, we're going to help out the economy post-COVID. But right now we are on a cliff over the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling that was raised 3 times under Trump, and 25% of this credit card bill that they don't want to pay was accrued under Trump, and he only had 1 term. And hopefully he won't have no more. Nevertheless, I digress. Let me move on. So let's also talk about the fact that just recently, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, we received reports that there is a staff member who's working for a Republican on this committee who has ties with and supports a white nationalist who has proclaimed himself to be just like Hitler. I don't really know what to say, except for the fact that this is a farce, all right? Because the fact is, we've got an increase in crime all over. If we really want to be real about it, let's talk about it. We're talking about D.C. right now, but the murder rates in red states like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama have statistically exceeded those in blue states like Illinois, New Mexico, and Michigan every year since 2000. Want to talk about keeping D.C. streets crime-free. They can't even keep the halls of Congress crime-free, because we gonna talk about this because I got 24 seconds. My freshman colleague has just been indicted on 13 counts 13 felony counts, right? But have they exhibited any courage to say, you know what, we will disallow this in our body. We will make sure that we expel this individual. They have not. So what I don't want to hear is that they care about crime, because if they did, they would start by cleaning up our own house and mind our own business instead of coming after DC. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.